Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of the Robins Report podcast with me, Tom Wade. And as you can see today, this is a very, very special episode. And for Robins fans that have been following the team like I have, this one is hugely, hugely special. Apologies from John. He won't be here today. But as our guest has just told me, he's bored him enough over his lifetime. So, you miss John, but obviously not that much, to be fair. But anyway, before we get into it, I just want to give a shout out to our sponsors, Luke 1977. If you go to luke1977.com, you can shop their new spring and summer collection and get a t-shirt much like this one. So thanks to you guys for hooking me up with that one. I don't want to waste any time because I got to be honest, I'm really excited about getting into this one. So without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, welcome Mr. Steven Gillespie to the Robins Report podcast. Steve, how you doing?
Yeah, really good. Thanks for having me, Tom. My t-shirt must still be in the post, I think.
Yeah, it is. Yeah. Yeah, it probably is. I'll get on to him about that. I've told him delayed is just no good. I'm still waiting for a few more myself, to be fair.
Oh, looks good on you, mate. Looks good. Looks smart. Looks smarter on you than it does me.
I appreciate that. Cheers, mate. Cheers. How have you been anyway? Before we get into the big stuff.
Yeah, really good. Obviously, everyone's had a strange year, haven't we, over the last with COVID? So, yeah, it's hopefully we can see the light at the end of the tunnel, can't we? But yeah, it's been a strange one. I'm a couple of years retired now, coming up to 4 years retired actually. Come up to next year. So, yeah. Really got into me coaching and enjoying it. Yeah, really enjoying it.
That's good. If you're anything as you were as a player, as a coach, I'm sure you're going to smash it, mate. To be fair. There you go.
No, it's something different. As one former Cheltenham manager told me, you want to still be putting a pair of football boots on. After your football career ends. Probably one of the best bits of advice I'd got given, to be honest, throughout my playing career. But yeah, I still get to put a pair of boots on for a living, and yeah, it's the next best thing.
It is. It has to be, doesn't it? Of course, I do want to get into a bit of that about you later. Obviously, get into what you're up to now and a few other bits that I've noticed that you've been doing. But I think there's only one place to start, mate, and that's right from the start. So, Liverpool born, Liverpool through and through. Obviously, you played for the schoolboys there. What was that like as growing up? Is that because obviously there's one thing that I noticed, you actually broke Robbie Fowler's goal scoring record. So that, and I've seen interviews of you past, and you've said how much of a hero he was for you. So that must have been just a crazy achievement.
Yeah, that seemed to follow me around my whole career. To be honest, I don't know. It definitely wasn't John who picked up that. That was someone who dug a little bit deeper. But yeah, it's obviously it's headline grabbing, isn't it? Because of Robbie Fowler's name. Yeah, it followed me around my career as well, and it was something. Again, I'm a Liverpool fan from Liverpool, like you say. It was something that I always looked up to him. As a fan, he was a type of goal scorer that I always wanted to be. He scored all types of goals. He scored left foot, right foot, header. I didn't know what foot he preferred at the early part of his career, and I think every lad from Liverpool wanted to be Robbie Fowler at my age, and I was lucky enough to become a professional and try and emulate him in some ways, and didn't quite have the career he had. But it was funny. I get to work with the legends, and I don't want to mess up your schedule of questions too much. But yeah, I got to work with him. Get to work with him quite frequently before he's moved off into management, and I actually played with him in a couple of games. I came on for him in a substitute game in a Legends match, which was a bit of a surreal moment. So yeah, but he was an idol, absolute idol, and he's as good as it off the pitch. People say don't meet your heroes, but he's a great person as well.
Yeah, that must be amazing to replace your hero in a game, no matter how big or small it is. That must be a great moment, like for you.
Yeah, it was up. It was over in Ireland. We played a game for Sean Cox. I don't know if anyone follows Liverpool as well as Cheltenham, but a fan who got in a spot of bother outside the ground for, again. You only have to look up the story, and it was a game for him really. So we played it over in his native island, played the Republic of Ireland team 11. So we go over there, and I sometimes make the numbers up, but mostly I'm there to do the warm ups and and get to do all those little bits of fun stuff. And in that game, the boys tired in the game, and I got to play the last 20 minutes. So it was surreal. It was surreal, but the nightlife was as good as the game as well. That was it was a good it was a good trip over in Dublin.
Yeah, I can imagine. I got to ask, there wasn't any dentist chairs around, was there?
Not quite, but I won't mention any names. But they were I got introduced to Guinness and Tia Maria. I didn't know that was a thing. I had plenty of Guinnesses at the races at Cheltenham with a few of the boys when we used to go. But they added the shot of Tia Maria into it, which seemed a good idea for the first couple, but after it was not so good.
A bit heavy on the stomach. Yeah, definitely. That's mad. But yeah, talking to stick with Liverpool, obviously you played there from a very young age. You played in the academy. You played a few reserve games with some very talented players that went on to have some excellent careers. Much like yourself. I mean, you had an excellent career in my opinion. So you played there until you was 19. And then you left Liverpool, went to Bristol City, just up the road from here. What was that transition like? Was it going from Liverpool, the way that club is, to Bristol City, and just on a different scale, isn't it? I suppose.
It was. It was a bit of a shock, to be honest. And I fell down the pyramid going from Liverpool to Bristol City, and Bristol City is a huge club. And for those who fall further down the pyramid, it was even more of a shock. So, like I say, I went to Bristol. And I was a bit surprised with what was going on and the change rooms and facilities, etc. But equally, it was the making of me really. I left it. I think I was actually 18. So you look at the system now where they've got they've got the teams before the first team are the under 18s, under 23s, and then it's the first team. There's no reserve team football, so it gives the boys a little bit longer to get through. Whereas, I'm pretty sure I was just before my 19th birthday. It was around my 19th birthday that I got let go. So it's quite early, and the year I'd left, I'd scored a lot of goals for the reserves and done quite well. Obviously I wasn't ready at 18 to get into Liverpool's first team and take the players who are currently in there out of the team. That's I'm not ashamed to say that, but in the current system, I may have stayed there a couple of years, and who knows. But I'm not one to have regrets at all, because I think the move to Bristol actually it made me grow up quite a lot, because I was living on my own. Well, I lived with my wife, to be honest. My girlfriend at the time, she moved with us, which was a big help. Saved me going out on the lash every other night. So I had someone to keep me in. It was a big help. But I think going to that club was sort of the start of my real professional career really, and that was my pro contract, and really like fighting to try and play some first team football.
Yeah, definitely. And obviously you did that, and you gave it all you did. And for one reason or another, it seemed to be a bit harder for you, because obviously you weren't getting the game time, and then one thing led to another. And then thankfully, maybe not for you, because it's not obviously how you want it to go, but for me, it obviously is. And for all us Cheltenham fans, you landed on the lap of us, joined us on loan. What was that like? Because obviously you'd gone from Liverpool, you'd gone to Bristol, and then all of a sudden it's not quite going right. You're not getting time to play. Every player wants to play. Obviously, I'm no ex-pro or anything like that. I can hardly kick a ball myself, to be honest. But it must have been difficult, frustrating in a way, I guess, not getting the chances. And then obviously you find yourself going on loan, coming to Cheltenham.
Yeah, I think going to Bristol first helped. I think it was a realization of to quickly go through the story. Danny Wilson signed me at Bristol City, having watched me played in a Liverpool reserve team game at Birmingham, so it wasn't too far away. So he came and watched me there. Signed me in the May, and I went and trained with Bristol City whilst they were in the preparation for the League One playoff final. So they got through the semis, and then I trained with them in the week leading up to it. I was obviously ineligible to play, but I was training with those lads as they were preparing to potentially go up into the Championship. And I actually signed 2 deals. I signed one for if they did go up to the Championship, and one if they were in League One. So I went along. I didn't go with the team, but I went to the game, and they got beat. They got beat 1-0 to Brighton, and it was strange. It was mixed feelings. I was thinking, well, League One, I potentially may play a little bit more. Obviously I wanted to go to Championship. The Championship contract was a bit more money as well, so that was
I can imagine.
a little bit of a blow. But again, maybe thinking, I might play a little bit more than I would have done in the Championship. So so after that, reported back into pre-season, and the manager got sacked. Danny Wilson got sacked. So the manager who signed me, I hadn't even played the game for. So then the new manager comes in, Brian Tinnion, who was a player manager, and then he had a power struggle with the players he already had in there, who seen him as a player still rather than the manager. So he let go a lot of players who went up. That tells you the story in itself. A lot of players went to the Championship, and he brought in a couple of strikers, as most new managers do. I wasn't quick enough and smart enough at that age to realise I was as far down as the pecking order as I was. I had confidence and I had the self-belief I'd get in, but maybe stayed a little bit too long. And then the move came about to Cheltenham was that John Ward had seen me in the exit trials at Liverpool when I was leaving Liverpool. When it was announced that I was leaving, they hold the exit trials, which I'm sure you've heard of, which isn't a nice experience. I didn't remember not playing well on the actual trial game because everyone's trying to impress.
Yeah, it's like make or break, isn't it? I suppose.
Yeah, it was difficult and not enjoyable, and I really questioned whether actually you're going to make it at such a young age. You've got so that doubt, but then the loan move came about, and John, strange calling him John, he's still gaffer, but he gave me the start I needed, and just put me straight into the team. And fortunate enough, it worked out for both parties. I scored a couple of goals, which made him look like he was good in the loan market, and it made me feel like that professional that I was yearning to be.
It was, yeah, and it was quite towards the end of the season, if I remember. I think it was a January, wasn't it? You come in, and I think you scored 4 in your first 5 games, which was just like, wow, this guy. I remember my thoughts even to this day. Wow, this guy is bloody good.
Again, you just don't know how things would ever pan out. If it may potentially had a couple of games where it didn't score, and you don't know whether So I came in and just hit the ground running. Scored a few goals, and I remember that was my first professional goal, and so I'll always remember that at Cheltenham. And it went under the keeper. I remember the keeper threw one in for me, so it was nice of him. And I think it was a 4-1 win at home against Lincoln. I hope I'm getting that right. But that was my first goal, and it gave me loads of confidence, and took it into the next few games, and scored a few more.
Yeah, it was. Yeah. I mean, what was your first impressions then coming into Cheltenham? Obviously, Wardy'd seen you at Liverpool, and obviously you look at the players at that team. Some of them, like they're club legends, really. Let's be honest. So, what was it like? Your first initial impressions of the club?
The first impressions were how I felt myself individually. To be honest, I didn't really think of the team or the club as a whole. I really didn't. I was the main impression, as selfish as it sounds, which I don't know if many people would admit to it whilst they're still playing, but afterwards, it's the most individual team sport game that you'll ever see. Football, it's a lot of people are concentrating on themselves, and I was no different. I was coming in thinking about me. I wasn't thinking about Cheltenham. I wasn't. I wasn't thinking about the manager. I wasn't thinking anything other than my own career. Now, obviously, that benefits the club by me scoring goals, but I needed to prove myself, something to myself, that I
Yeah.
was good enough to be a professional. And I still had that little doubt in the back of my mind, which I hated, and I really did. And you talk about my Liverpool career and sort of the youth days. I was hardened to it from an early age, to the academy system of fighting for someone taking my spot, and I think that's what put me in good stead for my professional career, because I think I never wanted anyone to take my spot in the team. I really didn't, and I think that's why ultimately fans at Cheltenham and at Colchester, where I had probably my two best spells as a professional, they like me, and I am sort of classed. I sound big-headed here by saying it, but I am kind of classed as a fan's favourite because of sort of the style I played. I played where every game mattered to me, every minute mattered, where I never wanted an opponent to get the better of me. I never wanted to lose a tackle. Which ultimately I did do some silly tackles because I couldn't tackle very well.
I
But
think Scunthorpe comes to mind there a bit.
yeah, yeah, that was ridiculous. But I hated losing. I hated the thought that someone would take my spot, and it just, there was some inner drive in me that was there throughout my career that made me that way. So, going full circle now, I wasn't so much of a fan. I've always been a Liverpool fan, but once I'm retired, and Liverpool have had a good couple of years as well, so I've got to watch them an awful lot with my two young boys. And as a fan, I can watch football as a fan more now. And I've stopped playing. Whilst you're playing, you're too consumed with what's going on. Well, I was anyway. So now I've retired, I am that fan. I can appreciate why people maybe think of me like that, because I look at players now, even in Liverpool's team, and if opponents are getting the better of them, or you just want them to be trying the best so much, and I think I did that.
Yeah, I think you did. And you say about competition and stuff. Like at that time, we had Steve Guinan, Coyote ODJ, who was probably one of the best strikers his club's had. He was the top scorer at that point. Obviously, Damien Spencer off the bench as well. So you did have some healthy competition. And there was one thing that always stands out to me where you say about beating off competition and stuff like that to get into it. Well, when you were with us, obviously we were playing so well under Wardy. I think we had some really, probably our best times. Like most recently under like Duffy, we've been brilliant, and stuff like that. But that era for me was just me growing up as a kid. That was so iconic for me. And you actually started in place of Kay on probably what was one of the best away days. I suppose neutral ground. It's not really a away day, but one of the best days of my life when, we won the playoff final. What was that feeling like? Because you took a couple of knocks before that, I believe, and leading up to that game, I think it was the second leg. We drew 0-0 at Wadden Road, obviously beating them 2-1 at their place, which was obviously a good day for you that day, because I think that's the day where I always remember it, because it was Liverpool and West Ham in the FA Cup before, and Stevie G obviously did what he did in the comeback, and that was that day. And then obviously Town went on and won. I was more worried about Cheltenham, I'm not going to lie, but but yeah, that was the day. It's the whole day was just crazy. But yeah, the second leg on the Tuesday, I believe it was Tuesday or Wednesday, you come on last 10 minutes, you were on the bench, you were injured, and then you came into the starting 11, like I said, for the final. What was that feeling like when Wardy turned around and said, right, Steven, you're gonna start in front of Kay, who was arguably, like I said, top scorer that season?
Yeah, well, Kay got his move that I think was it that year or the year after? But
year after, I think.
Well, he was unplayable, Kay, on his day, and actually a really good friend of mine, and I still speak to him to this day. I don't speak to many, to be honest. I don't keep in contact with many players, but Kay's one of them, and a good friend. And he was banging for him, and I didn't play an awful lot in the semis. You probably know more than me, but I felt like I didn't play at all, and I was disappointed. But like you said, the competition between the four of us was high. Damien was a top player. Damien played an awful lot of games, was really reliable, and we relied on him an awful lot, Damien. And Steve Garnon was someone who probably doesn't get the credit he deserves, and never will, because he never scored the goals. He was always getting maybe 10 a season, but for me to play off him, he was brilliant. He'd done all the work for me, and something I learned so much off him. He was so clever, because technically, if you break him down as the sort of the coach I am now, his ability wise, it was all in his mind. He was so clever. He was such a clever player. Knew his strengths and knew how to work them. And it was to your question, was mixed feelings. Initially, obviously, I was delighted, because the manager pulled me a couple of days before and said, "You're in, you're playing." It was. He later told me it was to do with the way it's been set up against Grimsby twice in the season, and didn't get anything from it. Didn't get any change. He'd gone with Damien and Kay, I think, on those two occasions, and they didn't get much joy out of the Grimsby back four. Who were quite big centre backs as well. Rob Jones was one of them. I can't think of the other. So he decided to go a different way. He decided to go with Gins and myself. So ultimately, I was delighted. But Kay was my mate, and he still is my mate. So I knew how disappointed he'd be. It was a strange one, because I knew he'd had in the preparation to it. I know you shouldn't, but you are distracted with things like, like you say, you remember it now as being one of your greatest away days. It was an opportunity for us to play at the biggest stadium we'll ever play in. So we are just just lads at the end of the day who I think Kay had got like 20 tickets for his friends and family, and ultimately he's thinking he's playing because he's banging form, and the manager's told him he's not, and he's told him out. So again, you're going into that game thinking, it was again great psychology by the manager, because ultimately I ran myself into the ground for that first hour and come off with cramp ultimately, which he reminded me. He reminded me when I was dancing around the cup at that night. So, didn't you come off with cramp? I'm like, I'm off had a few beers now. I'm all right. But that was a great night and a great occasion. But yeah, to know Kay was on the bench, and you believe in yourself and you believe you should be playing, to know that he's picked you ahead of him. So you've got to go out and do the business, and yeah, luckily we did.
Yeah, we did. I think, as you said earlier, we got nothing from the two games from them in the season. I think we lost both games. So yeah, we got nothing from. So from a tactic point of view, it's probably clever from Wardy there to go, right, you know what, they're going to set up, because for yourself, they probably were going to set up knowing that Kay was going to start. They were going to isolate him, and that would probably been their game plan at the back. And thankfully, Wardy didn't start him. I guess, like you say, it's kind of tough. He went with you and Gines. I got to ask you, because I've asked everybody, I think, did he mean it or did he not?
No, he didn't mean it. It's a cross. It's definitely a cross. It's a good cross. It's a good cross that sometimes go in. I think he'll tell you it went in, but I don't think anyone really matters, does it? I think he went off and celebrated. I scored plenty that I didn't quite mean to go in exactly where they go in. Yeah, we all celebrated it. I'd celebrated it as much as I'd scored it myself. I think, we talked, I mentioned it, didn't I, about sort of being when I first came into Cheltenham, I was thinking about myself, whereas the great skill of the manager at the time and the staff, not just the manager, was that we felt like a team. We played like a team. And like I say, I celebrated Gins scoring that goal like I'd scored it myself. I think I know there's a picture knocking about of Damien celebrating it like he'd scored it. He's got his arms in the air. Again, it's just, that's a striker. That's a striker who's on the bench, punching his two hands in the air. Who's another striker's came on ahead of him, and he's celebrating like he scored it himself. It's brilliant. I think that was something that the staff at the time did manage to do really well. Managed to get that team environment that give us the edge. Yeah,
I think it did. I really do. That togetherness is something you said it's individuals, but team sport, that togetherness is everything. If you've got a squad full of guys that fight for each other, the possibilities are endless of where that team could go.
Yeah, I think we were well aware of like the past, the not too distant past, because we had the likes of Finners in the team who'd been promoted, and he wasn't going around and reminding us, but he had Gins and Finners who had the experience, who'd been there and sort of had had a taste of it and getting promoted, and like you said, you've mentioned a couple of the lads there like Kay and Ashley Vincent and Grant McCann's, those players, and Brian Wilson's who went on to do well. We were well aware of the history, of the not too distant, past of the Cottrell side, that we wanted to be the best. We did. We wanted. We seen the pictures in Modern Road. It's called something different now, the ground, but we were well aware of the promotion, and that this was a brilliant team, and we wanted to be better than it. I certainly did. I wanted to be part of a team that was better than that one and fondly remembered. So that drove us on, and I think that helped that sort of team spirit, and no doubt Finn has helped it. Sort of that link between the two definitely helped us.
Yeah, it did. Finners, for me, is probably one of the best midfielders this club's ever seen. It was his birthday actually yesterday, and I said it in a tweet. Like, left it all on the pitch, and he was just absolutely fantastic as a player on and off the pitch. He was just what a bloke,
Yeah, I think most people who know me don't know. Even in training, I didn't like running when I was a professional. So Finners managed to convince me to do a half marathon in Cheltenham not that long ago, and he's probably the only person who could have done it. Honestly, I've got so much respect for him and the club, to be honest. So when the club asked me to do anything, I will. And I think I came back not too long ago and brought me two boys and walked them around the pitch at half time and got a nice round of applause, and we watched the game and was treated really, really well, which it's special. It makes you feel good. I didn't want to, when you're playing, you're just cracking on to each game, and I didn't want to sort of think of, you don't want to rest on your laurels, because it can bite you in the backside quite quickly, football. So it's nice to look back and take the kids there, and hopefully we'll be able to do it again sometime soon.
Yeah, definitely, 100%. I'd love to catch up with you at Modern Road. It'd be brilliant. But I don't want to go back too far. But obviously, you said about the family feeling that Wardy brought. Was that like a big reason as to why you signed permanently for the club? Because obviously you had the 2 loan spells, then you come in, sign permanently, and I'm sure, class player that you were, there was probably other interest as well. I'm obviously not too sure about that one. I'd probably say there probably was. So was that a big reason, those 2 loan spells and how successful it was, the reason why you said, right, I'll sign permanently?
Well, being open and honest again, I can do that now. I've retired. I can sort of tell it how it is, rather than whilst you're still playing, you don't get really, which I'm sure you get very little out of the players who are playing now, because you're not trained in it, but you can't give anything away, because you get your words used against you. So, I was at Bristol City, and at the time I'd come on loan a couple of times. The manager changed again at Bristol City, so Brian Tinian was sacked after a pretty heavy defeat at Swansea, which I played in. We got beat 7-1 at Swansea.
Yeah, 7-1 game. I remember that one.
Yeah, I got subbed on 55 minutes when it was 2-0, so it wasn't my fault. But no, it was. Yeah, they scored off the last kick of the first half, so it was a funny old game. But again, got destroyed there, sacked the manager, and I played in the interim. So Keith Millen was caretaker, and I'd played a couple of games, and I scored at Nottingham Forest away, and I thought, right, this is the start of my City career here. I felt good and was playing well. Felt a little niggle, where I felt throughout most of my career, but then I had a couple of weeks out. New manager got announced. Terrible time, and obviously to be injured as a new manager comes in. So Gary Johnson comes in, and again, I know he's got fond connections with Cheltenham, but me personally, I've not really got a good word to say about him, because I came on at half time, in his first game. I was fit, so came on at half time at I think it was Notts County at home, and we got beat 2-0, and I'd done okay. And you know when you've done okay, and when you haven't, well, I do. And I knew I'd done okay. Someone got sent off as well, so we were down to 10 men, and I was like playing sort of a left wingish role sort of thing, trying to support the attack, and I'd done okay. I got called into the so that was the Saturday, say, that was the last game. Then I had a couple of days training. Next game comes, it was Swindon live on Sky. So I get called into the office the day before. So I'm in the changing rooms, knocking on someone comes in from the staff. Gilly, the gaffer, wants to see you. So thinking, for all the lads, you're starting because I've done okay. And I forget a lot of things with football, but I don't forget this. And calls me in and goes, well, I'm not. You're not going to play here much. You're not in my plans. So Cheltenham have been on. I recommend you go and play some games, because if you don't, you're not going to be involved. I just went, okay. What can you say? You can't go. You can't go. Well, no, I'm going to fight for me play. You've just told me I'm not going to play. I was just like, right, okay. Strange one, but yeah, picked my boots up and went to Cheltenham. Came back to Cheltenham on loan. Again, played a couple of games. Couldn't tell you how they went, and the manager told me on deadline day, John Ward told me that he's going to make it permanent. They've agreed to make it permanent. Bristol, and I was like, he knew, he told me directly, so where he was at with, I wasn't in his plans, but in my mind, I think I was still 20 years of age, so I'm still relatively young. I'd scored a couple of goals in League Two, and I'd scored in my last game. I'd started for Bristol City at Forest, so I thought I was thought I was in the plan.
Doing all right. Yeah.
And I was like, yeah, what's going on? And again, I wasn't on astronomical wages. I was on a 19-year-old kid's wages. So I wasn't breaking the bank, and it was a strange decision for me looking back still. Again, I don't harbour no bitterness, but I still think it was a strange decision from a business point and from a playing point of view as well, because like I say, I came to Cheltenham, scored a few goals, and not that long into the future, I got sold for near on £500,000. So if I was the Bristol City, hierarchy, I'd be saying, hang on a minute, you let that kid go for next to nothing, really. So yeah, it was a strange decision from a playing background. But I came to Cheltenham because the manager believed in me. Ultimately, I enjoyed my time. The lads were great. You say that sort of family feeling. It was mostly playing reasons why I joined. The management liked me, knew I could perform, and I had something that I had never had previous, where I didn't feel like I had to break me back in training to try and get into the team on the Saturday. So I trained at Liverpool and at Bristol, like every day I was proving myself. Something I don't miss as I've retired.
Yeah.
That it does take its toll on you, the mental side of it. I miss obviously scoring the odd goal. That was quite fun.
Little man of match trophy here and there.
Yeah, I do enjoy that, but I'd say that the toll on every day was, I had to fight every day to try and earn my place, and there was lots of good players at Liverpool and Bristol, and I came to Cheltenham, and then obviously the goals helped, but the feeling the manager gave me of, he kind of said, look, because I got injured a couple of times in training, doing silly things like you mentioned, the scrum top tackle. I was doing things like that in training, which the lads will tell you themselves. It's not nice to be on the end of, but I couldn't switch off. There was something in me that the manager convinced me that I could maybe, I had to approach training slightly different, and the band plays at the weekend. That was that always stuck in my mind. You're performing at the weekend. In training you're building up to it, but I didn't see it that way, which again, I was a young boy and learning my trade. So that was a massive turning point in my career, really, where I could focus on training. And I didn't get it right all the time, but I was building up to the games.
Yeah, and obviously the some may say, oh, it's a step down because obviously gone from League One to League Two. Obviously, everybody chipped in. We got promoted there through the playoffs. First season was a hell of a ride, wasn't it? In League One, first season was a hell of a ride. I mean, going to some away I've never been to, and going up, the competition intensifies as you get, as yourself, as you got the pyramid, the competition gets harder and it intensifies. And we played some really big teams, and obviously you scored some really, really big goals. And I tried to pick out which ones are the best ones. I don't want to skip too far ahead of the season, but the one that stands out for that season was obviously Doncaster, last game of the season, win, stay up. And, I think it was half an hour into the game, you put us 1-0 up, and that's probably one of the most important goals that you've scored. I mean, you look through your Cheltenham career, there's been plenty, isn't there? Let's be honest, like scoring against Forest. Obviously, the winner at home against Leeds was just that. As a Liverpool guy, that must have been absolutely incredible as well. That must have been crazy. And the overhead kick against Swansea, yes, we lost that game, but at least it wasn't 7-1, Gilly, this time. Let's be honest.
It was 4-1 that one. Yeah.
It's just 4, yeah. But yeah, there's a couple that stand out. Then, like I said, Doncaster one first season was probably the biggest for me.
Yeah, well, the first season, again, probably the skill of the manager was, I was picking up injuries, and like you say, I got the odd red card, and so I missed game. Any red card I used to get, used to sort of, when you have those fixtures and it seems to be Saturday, Tuesday, and you can have lots of, whereas when I used to get a red card, it used to be Saturday, and I'd miss a month of the season, and I'd be like, it was just my luck, I felt at the time. So that was another thing that I learned from, because you're costing yourself game time, and then you have to earn yourself back in the team, which was tough to do. So, looking back at the goals, was that first season, I think there was a Doncaster one away, that I remember scoring. I like that one, and then the Rotherham ones where I scored two on the last day, which was, I think, made us mathematically safe to stay up. But again, that playing it, probably what the team are doing now. If they're doing incredibly well, and then it's so close at the top of League Two that the difference between League Two and League One for me is that you get into play at grounds like you mentioned, Leeds and stuff, where you feel like a Premiership player. You do. You play. Obviously, hopefully the next season the crowds will be back, but you've only got to look at, I'm sure plenty of the Cheltenham fans now who are dreaming of going up have looked this far ahead and look at the bottom end of the Championship to think who's coming down. I know, like I said, Birmingham's are struggling and stuff, and Coventry could get dragged into it. So imagine going to play them next season. I don't think the players at the moment have got any more motivation than going to play at those grounds next season with a full out. Like, they're one of the best memories I've got as a player.
Yeah.
Obviously, the scoring the goals, they're the hard bits, but I look back now and some of the goals I did score in them, I did like to score against the big sides, and there was something in me that, again, I went to them grounds, and it just made me even taller, and it made me feel even better, and it made me. Some players go the other way and get daunted by it and can't play in front of a crowd, but I used to go out at Sheffield United when they play the Greasy Chip Butty song, and you're just like, God, I just feel like a player. Or Portsmouth, and you go out to, like say, Leeds, like we did, and beat them twice. I know that goes down as one of the best, best results in the club's history. And you do, they're the games that, if the team of today have got any motivation, they playing league football from, obviously, I know the club went down back into the National League, and to get back in the league is a big thing. I know that. But the opportunity for the players to go and play at these grounds, they'll remember them like I do. It's fantastic. Swansea were, like say, that overhead kick. It was, unfortunately, it was before the time of everything's on Twitter, and I can't find. Like I asked John. That's why you could have got John on for this. You can ask him. I tasked him with trying to find that goal, and he hasn't come up trumps yet. So no, there's those goals like that again I'd like to see back, because I've got a memory of them, but sometimes they look a little bit different on telly. But
yeah, they do. You got to see them again.
yeah, I'd like to see them again. As I say, now I've stopped playing. I wouldn't have done it at the time. Again, the game, I'd have been disappointed with the defeat, and thinking, yeah, don't get carried away. You scored an overhead kick, because you can be out the team for 6 weeks if you have a bad game. So I wouldn't have been interested at the time. Whereas now it's like, yeah, I'd like to see it now. But
we'll make it our mission, Gilly. We'll try and find it.
It doesn't exist.
We'll try and find it.
Yeah, I think it's just.
Did it actually happen? Are we sure it happened?
Yeah, I think so.
Can't remember. No, I mean, that's been, like you said. Yeah, I agree. So if you obviously mentioned the guys this year, we'll get back into you a bit in a minute. Just want to go here. Have you seen any lads this year? You keep an eye on them.
Well, obviously, yeah, obviously they got all the press coverage for the City game, didn't they? So that was great. It was great to be on terrestrial TV and manage to watch a team that I play for again, and tell them I don't tell my boys an awful lot. I've got zero memorabilia in the house. I haven't got frame shirts on it anywhere or anything. My mum and dad have got a couple, but I'm not that type sort of thing. I haven't got all the shirts everywhere. So occasionally I do remind me two boys I played football, and that was one of them. That was one of them when it came on the telly. You know, Cheltenham Town against Man City, and my boys are talking about it, and everybody's talking about it. Anyone who's interested in football, you know, it's got the attention of the football world, hasn't it? So, you know, and then obviously for those couple of minutes when you're winning, it's like, is this really happening? You know, Man City are romping away with the league. I've spent a couple of seasons desperate for City to lose because of my Liverpool connections. But yeah, it was incredible, that game, to think, you know, you took them all that way, and all the nice words that the Man City manager said about the club, and ultimately it was a great distraction from the league, and you still managed to keep the league form up. I haven't watched an awful lot of games, to be honest, so I could, you know, I'm fully devoted to being a Liverpool fan. But like I say, I noticed, I know where they are in the table, and I know that, yeah, you've got the league's coming to the point where it's time to step up for whoever, you know. It's a time to be a hero for a couple of the lads, whoever it may be. You know, getting to this point's great. You've put yourselves right in it, but it's tight, isn't it? It's really tight. Yeah. You know, who's going to be the player to go and score 6 goals now to the end of the season and really drive you on? That's who you know. I don't like using it when I work with some of they are legends. I use that term. The Liverpool legends who I work with don't like getting called legends. They like getting called former players. There's one or two who are legends. You know, you talked about that Gerrard goal at the cup final, and I did stand on that spot before the game just to think that was quite a long way away. He's kicked this goal, but yeah, you know, he's probably not going to put yourself in legendary brackets. I don't like using the word, but the players, if you go into these last few games and put yourself in good form and get the club promoted automatically, then you'll be remembered, and you'll be asked to maybe do a podcast in 10 years time. But
that's it, yeah. Yeah, no, I agree. They've got a crazy opportunity, haven't they? Really, and it's obviously it's all in their hands. It's tight. League, you know how tough League One was back. League Two, sorry, was back then. Look how it's even tougher now these days, especially with no crowds and stuff, isn't it? Because you know, we haven't spoke much about, did the fans have much effect on you when you were playing, but I'm sure it does. A lot of pros have come out and said, look, no excuses. It's just not the same. And I think the guys have got a great opportunity. It's just a shame that we're not there to share it with them at the moment.
Definitely. I think as a fan, I don't like not going, because I go to every Liverpool game. Yeah, I don't like watching it on the telly. It's not the same thing. I do when I have to. And for going back as a player, I'd have hated no crowds there. So I look back at the sort of the end of my career where I was playing a little bit of part-time stuff as I got really into me coaching, and I was playing in front of a couple of hundred people, and it just didn't motivate me. It didn't. It really didn't. If there wasn't a cheer when I'd close a fullback down, then there was something in me that did take away from, do I make that run? And do I put in those hard yards that players do? You've only got to look back at some of the, Sky Sports and all the programs do it now. They look back at Liverpool have had a great couple of years, like I mentioned, and look back at the Barcelona game and stuff like that. And would that have happened if the crowd weren't there? I don't know. I don't know, because I've been there where every opponent, who comes to Anfield gets jeered. I look back at Sterling and stuff like that, and the stick he gets. It's all in good jest and stuff, but it doesn't make it. It makes a difference. Likewise, it'll be going against Cheltenham at the moment because the players in the league will know how well Cheltenham are playing and know how well some of the players have done. And it's a tight little tunnel, and I know it. And I've stood in that tunnel against some good teams in that League One, and you can be intimidated in there. The game starts in the tunnel for me. I've stood next to centre halves who are twice the size of me and twice the width. I remember standing next to one who's a manager now, so I won't mention it. But his feet were as wide as mine were long, honestly. And I was thinking, oh God, like I'm in for a tough game here. And it does with they're coming out of separate entrances, and I get why they do it. They're doing it, and the sooner they're back to the what we think is normal is great, and I think it is. It's not taking anything away from it because there's people who've worked tirelessly hard to get football to be operating, and the lads included, who the Premiership stars who are going back to the, who are getting paid ridiculous amount of money to do it, whereas the lads at Cheltenham have sort of put their own health at risk, getting the families, and who knows what was going on at the time when they were going back to football. So, it has been a welcome distraction for everyone, hasn't it? Football, and you wouldn't like to think where we'd be thinking without any football. Football's constantly on in my house. If that wasn't on, I don't know what I'd be watching.
Tennis.
No, I like a bit of golf, and I do play a little bit of tennis and stuff, but it's not to watch it. Come on.
No, that's it. There's nothing quite like football, is there? To be fair, I agree. Going back to your career a little bit, Gilly, I've got to ask. I've always wanted to know about this, and I think you know what's coming. Like second season. Before we get there, though, obviously second season League One. You probably, in my opinion, you had your best career year then. 16 goals in the season, literally prolific, scoring just a goal every other game. It was just insane to see, and obviously it was a great season because we secured our highest ever finish then in Football League history, which is obviously another big achievement that you were a part of. So obviously the end of the season comes. Wardy's gone. Obviously Wardy'd gone then. I think it was Keith Downing in charge. What was it like, obviously, firstly, going from Wardy to Downing? I know Keith, he was there, so it might not have been much of a change because he was there. He was Wardy's number 2, wasn't he? So what was that change like first and foremost? There
was a bit of a change. There was continuity in the sense that everyone knew the way he liked to work. But he did have a different management style to John. I've got to thank Keith an awful lot because, again, I praise John Ward all the time, that anytime I get opportunity to praise him, I do. But like you say, Keith was the manager I performed the best under, and ultimately had the most prolific scoring season I had. So he managed to get something out of me that no one else could. Keith was a fantastic coach and a fantastic person, and it's no surprise he's where he's doing what he's doing. He's back at Bristol City now, and he had a spell at the England setup and stuff, and even higher because he is such a good coach and such a good person. The The season was fantastic. I enjoyed it. You talked about the Swansea game and the goal there, which we can't find. It was a game where I was substitute, and again, he was relatively new into his management, so he was questioning his own decisions. So again, in his honesty, post game, he said to me, "I've got to find a place for you in this team, no matter what," because of that goal. Because I just had the ability to score goals out of nothing, like that one. There wasn't a chance there, and I got to again to link it into Robbie Fowler. That's what I loved so much about him, and what I practiced scoring, always trying to score silly goals, which sometimes they went in, sometimes they didn't, and that one went in. And then from then, I just knew he told me I was going to play every game, which I did pretty much, which based on fitness I did. And we had good players. And we had good staff. We had good people like say Ian Weston, who I must have been a nightmare for tirelessly to get me out on the pitch.
Yeah.
Brownie, the chiropractor, who'd crack me back 1,000 times a week just to get me out there, and I'd go to Pilates and all done, just like there was no charge to the club or anything. It was just all in for the benefit of the team, benefit for the club. And I look back now, and they were just looking out for my interests in the clubs, and it was I say I can't thank those people enough. And I have tried to go back, and again, like you realise when you're retired that those people were looking out for you. There's a lot of people who don't. There's a lot of people who are looking out for themselves, including managers, including staff, and because of the nature of football, you have got to look after number one, which I sort of alluded to, which I was doing myself when I first joined Cheltenham on loan. And getting to the end of the season, and the sort of the transfer request, and it didn't turn ugly. It didn't. Again, no one sort of. I don't think anybody begrudges me. It was just a way that I had to do it to get out. The club would rejected, transfer fees that were breaking transfer fees. So Kay had his good year and gone. Grant had his good year and gone. Players had left, and I felt like it was my time. I'd had me good season. I had opportunities to go. I had managers phoning me saying, offering me money, literally on the phone, tripling my wage, and it was an opportunity to join a club where, like I mentioned, playing against them. So I mentioned playing against your Sheffield Uniteds and your Leeds. That there's those types of clubs who were coming and asking me for my services, and it was the prospect of playing in front of them. It was just the next step, and I think no Cheltenham fan would begrudge me that. I think the manager at the time didn't want me to go. Well, I know he didn't want me to go. He asked me to come and meet him. Looking back now, it was quite funny. He asked me to meet me somewhere neutral. Didn't want me to meet at the ground. It was quite fun. all quite exciting. So I went and met him in the Starbucks, which I don't know if it's still there by the Sainsbury's, which was the training ground. But so I went and met him there, and he pleaded me to stay and said, "Look, have another season, and you'll get an even bigger move." Which potentially I might have. You don't know. I don't know what'll have happened. And I do look back, and he left. He got sacked not long into the next season. And again, because he was such a great fella, I feel bad. I do have that looking back, and felt bad when he left. But the club ultimately accepted an offer, which was a lot of money, which is still the record fee, I believe. And
I think it's second now.
Is it really?
It's second now because Mo Ice went to Bristol City.
He
went to Bristol City.
That's it. The players who ultimately do have you're in that catchment area, aren't you, as well? There's a lot of teams that are around that. Again, you look at the players that did well there, that had kind of, we were the misfits from other places. Young players that had maybe not been given a chance somewhere else, and I got given a chance at Cheltenham. And then unfortunately, you say that the pull of the other clubs, the bigger stadiums and the bigger money, it just attracts players, and it did me, and I was no different. And I was told that, the way to do it, I had to put the transfer request in, so I did.
Yeah.
I literally walked out to my car. Well, I didn't. I asked Wes for a piece of paper, and he did. He didn't know what it was for. So you got Ian Weston to thank for it. Really, you can blame him. I went and wrote I'd like to see it now. It would be not very well worded transfer request, and handed it to the manager, and it was all official, and it all happened really quickly. Again, I didn't even know it. The club had accepted the fee. There was Blackpool who were really interested, which is obviously a lot nearer the northwest, and Colchester who'd come down from the Championship and were really having a big push at getting back and throwing a lot of money on it. And I got given the opportunity to speak to Colchester first of all before the fee had been agreed. And I went down there, and I didn't come back. I literally went down there, and everything was agreed over the weekend, and that was it.
Yeah, because I know originally there was a bid 350,000 was turned down, and then obviously Paul Baker come out and said, look, we hold the keys, 2-year contract. He's still contracted for 2 years. It's not enough money to get him away. And then obviously a couple of days later, you came in with the transfer request. Obviously, what was it like then? Because obviously, I think it was in July, so the season finished. I don't know if you guys were still training there. I don't think you were.
We were actually. Yeah, we came in for pre-season, and it was a funny few days. Yeah, it was a funny few days. Sorry for jumping across you there, but I remember the feeling of getting your new kit, your new training kit, and I had a couple of days, and and it wasn't very nice. Yeah, it was. Everyone, the lads, you see that family feeling. You come in and I'd showed my hand. I'd said, look, I want to go, and everybody was saying they wanted me to stay, and I was the one who was saying no. It was me. It was me. The manager was trying to convince me to stay, and saying, give me 6 months. You might get a big January one. The chairman was coming out and saying things like that, which was, for a club like Cheltenham, which you have to turn down 350 grand. It's a big thing, big statement. So it was all on me. And you can argue whether it worked out or not, but the manager, it was John Ward actually, who'd not long after I broke my leg. It wasn't a bad break or anything, but I broke my leg at Millwall at home, and not long after he offered me a new 3-year deal or 2.5-year deal, something like that. So obviously I signed it. You're lying there with broken
August, wasn't it? Oh, sorry, that was in the August. Yeah,
I can't remember exactly. Not long. Obviously, I can't remember the exact times, but I remember the feelings more than the dates. But I remember the feeling of I'm lying on the treatment table with still thinking I'm a young lad, still proving myself with a broken leg. It wasn't a particularly bad break. I was back quite quickly after it. But the thought of I've got a broken leg here, that's every footballer's nightmare. Whereas, Ashley Vincent had done his ACL, which was within the same week, which is a lot worse of injury. I know that. I only had to look at his leg. His leg was black and blue from his waist down. It was a horrific one. So we were sat in there, and I got offered a new deal, and it was to be given stability as you're going to be here for 3 seasons, and I made plans on the back of it. I went and got married. So I thought, right, I've got opportunities to pay for a wedding. I'm going to save up for a wedding, and we got married. Moved into a new house, and again, it gave me that stability. That when I'm sat on the injury table again, smart management.
Yeah,
he's thinking that I'm going to go score goals in the future, and he's protecting the club, which ultimately he did, and I managed to get a good fee for me.
Yeah, he did. He really did. And obviously, you went on and off to Colchester. We went and got relegated. Not blaming you, mind. Don't worry about that. Not blaming you at all. But it was we had a good run in League One then. Obviously, as you said, the players left. Everybody went their separate ways almost, it felt like. You went over to Colchester. Started pretty well there at Colchester, didn't you? You scored a few goals and that. And then sort of, again, frustration because obviously the injury started coming back and then it started getting a little bit more frustrating for you. A And then lo and behold, AD Boothroyd was the manager. He's on his way out. And the next thing you know, Wardy's rocking back up again.
Well, AD had John as his assistant. So he had him there. And I think John tried to get me in the team more than AD did put me actually in the team. The season AD was there, I think I made 30 sub appearances. So that tells you, like, I'm probably getting that stat wrong, but I felt like I made an awful lot of sub appearances. So I was fit most of the season. Now again, you're talking about the current team to cross over into that. We felt like we were in the automatic promotion spots for majority of the season. I can remember the bonuses; they were good. we were getting good points per game. We were in the top couple, thinking we're going to go in the championship here. Now, again, AD didn't play me an awful lot, but he did believe in me, and he did say like things like, I remember he pulled me at the Sheffield Wednesday training ground saying, "Look, you're going to play a lot more games in the championship. You're the type of player that'll." He'd been there with Watford and the Premier League, and was saying, "Look, you'll play more for me," and I believed him, and I did, and I think he was telling the truth. And I was no bad egg being on the bench that year. I was trying my best to get in the team, and sometimes I did get in the team. Similarities to the game where you talk about the cup final and the playoff final where we went up. The style of playing me and Gins instead of Kay and Damien. AD did something similar at Colchester where he played myself and Kevin Lisby, who had obviously a fantastic Premier League career with Charlton and was a top striker, and we were the two smaller ones out of the four. We had Clive Platt, who had a top career in the Championship at Coventry and MK Dons and clubs like that, and Kay. So Kay had come as well. So we had us, we had us four. And sometimes he'd go with the two big lads. He'd go with Platty and he'd go with Kay, which talk about being in a tunnel. I wouldn't like them to be stood next to me thinking, "Oh, these are going to give me a game." Or sometimes he went with me and Kev, and I remember he did that over Christmas period, and we played a local derby, Southend, and we beat them, and then we played Southampton over the Christmas period, and I scored, and then went on back on the bench in the game later, and was reluctantly happy to do so because you're fighting for the team, and we were winning. So back to my point about what the current side are doing. So the right in amongst it, I think we went again, barring a couple of games, the last 15 games or so, I think we won one or two, and we didn't even finish in the playoffs. We dropped like a stone. And it was horrific. We had meetings and we had top players at Colchester who were getting paid a lot of money, and there was a lot of transfer fees in the team, and it just didn't work out. We dropped like a stone. So I look back at my Colchester career, and even though in the end I did score a few goals and the fans did like me in between the injuries, that haunts me, that season, even though I didn't start as many times as I'd like. That does haunt me. So it's the current crop at Cheltenham now. It's a chance for them to step up and score a few goals, and this is when it matters. You can score as many or perform as much as you want. If you don't do it in the last 8 or 9 games, then it doesn't really matter. You go in the playoffs and get beat, or you don't even get in the playoffs. It's that tight. Go and get automatic, go and win the league, and then you'll remember it. This is a time for players to step up. And I say that I think that I look back at my Colchester career, and that was a sad moment. I say Kay followed me into as well as John, and then I did get into the side a little more, and I did play a little more. Again, it was that feeling of which I didn't have at Cheltenham. I look back now, and I really do pinpoint it to the days in training where the management changed. So I had Geraint Williams, who signed me, paid a lot of money for me. I started with 2 goals at Hartlepool, and then we played in the cup, Ipswich, our local derby, which he dropped a couple of us because he was like, "Look, the league promotion's key. We're not going to win
priorities, yeah.
We're not going to win the Carling Cup." So we had a couple of us on the bench, and I come on and I scored. It was one of my better goals. Again, that puts you in straight into the fans' favourite type, doesn't it? Scoring a 30-yard lob against Ipswich at Ipswich, give the fans something to cheer about. But I got injured in the again, and so I was fighting to get back in the team. A few niggles. Not so long later, the manager gets sacked. 10, 15 games into the season, Paul Lambert comes in, and I'm back to that feeling of I've got to prove myself day in, day out, because I was injured when he came in, brings in top strikers who, I think one was an international, was playing for Wales at the time. So it's like, look, I'm back to square one here, day one. Paul Lambert had won the Champions League. He was driving around in a Maserati. I'm like, I've got Batman as my gaffer now. I've got to turn up. It was
You got to show him that you're Robin, I suppose.
Oh, I don't want to be Robin. I've got a good Robin story though. I have got a cracking Robin story when we get to like AOBs at the end. I've got a cracking it. But no, it was back to fighting every day, proving myself, and I got niggles, and yeah, it was frustrating. And then that manager left. He went to Norwich. AD come in at that season, and then John took over from him. And John didn't give me an easy ride. No way he did. He had me in the office, and he offered to loan me out to Cheltenham.
Really?
There was a loan move agreed under Yatesy. And I got a niggle in training, believe it or not. It was agreed that morning. He pulled me in the office before training, and I felt something. And it was like, I'm sure it was a Thursday, and I felt something. I was due to start on the Saturday for Cheltenham, so this will have been 2010 maybe. I'm not sure exactly. Well, maybe get me dates wrong, but
because you come back in 13-14, didn't you?
Yeah, but this was much earlier.
That was much earlier, because I've got it here. So 2012, you left Colchester, so it would have been the year before you left. Yeah, it would have been 2011.
It was around. Maybe no. I was established. I had 2 seasons. Yeah. It was the first. It was Wardy first sort of come in, and I'd been injured. And he said, "Look, go out." He put it in the papers and stuff. He go out and play some games with a view to coming back. It wasn't a Gary Johnson moment. It wasn't a you haven't got a
future sort of thing. Right?
Yeah, you haven't got a future. You go and get some games, and then you'll come back into the team. Because I needed to get up to speed, and I felt something, and I felt terrible going in and going, I can't do it, because you're thinking, is he thinking I'm at it here and don't want to go? When it was quite the opposite. So then, the way it came about was he was like, look, we're not at Cheltenham where I have to rely on you. You're the big hitter here. We're at a club where I can go and buy someone. I've got good money for transfer fees. I've got money for for loan fees and for stuff like that, and wages, which can blow people out of water. And I was like, I get it, but I back myself. I'm better than anyone. So then, how it came about, I got back in. I had to earn it, and the game was live on Sky. It was a game against Bournemouth, and all the cameras were there, not for us. The cameras were there because of Eddie Howe. It was Eddie Howe's last game before he went to Burnley, and it was all agreed. He was going amicably and all that stuff, and they were happy for him to go and all that stuff. So game goes on. I'm on the bench. I'm not even sure if I'm getting on the bench at this stage. That's how far down the pecking order I am. I managed to get on the bench, and I come on the last 15 or 20 minutes, and I score 2, and I get man of the match. I've got my mum and dad have got the bottle of champagne, the big magnum of Sky Sports man of the match, and that was it. Then it was like, right, well, I came on and changed the game. I think we won that 1-0 down. I came on and scored 2. So I played 15 minutes, done a really bad interview because I wasn't expecting it, with a terrible beard and overgrown skinhead and stuff, and wasn't expecting it because I didn't think I was on the bench. So come on, scored, and then that kick-started my career again. So I was in the attention of the fans again, saying, look, any game then I was on the bench. I earned my spot on the bench. 60 minutes and we're down, getting beat, and the crowd are singing my name. So that was so he had to put me on in some games, maybe when he didn't want to. So I got going again and scored a few goals and got my career back on the goal scoring trail.
Yeah, because you come back and you scored against us. Do you remember? I think I do. Was it the home? I think it was the home game.
No, it was at
Colchester, wasn't it? Yeah, we lost.
It was again. Yeah. I've got good stories for that game as well, where you talk about the feeling of the club. Where I don't know if they've been told anyway. If Finners have told you stories, but he was tasked with coming on and breaking my leg. From the then manager, who I don't think many people at Cheltenham have got a good word to say about.
Yeah, we can't say that word on here. It's banned.
But Finners, being the person he is, didn't do it. He couldn't have caught me then anyway. He was getting but he did kick someone. He got sent off, but he just didn't kick me, which I was grateful for, and I thanked him for, and bought him many a beer since. And I've promised him Leeds tickets next time they're allowed to come to Anfield. So I will be forever thankful that he didn't do the deed he was tasked with coming on that day. But again, Scotty in goal, Scotty Brown always gives me a bit of stick because he wasn't expecting. I didn't score many headers, but he wasn't expecting a header from me, and he claims it comes off my shoulder. But
doesn't
matter. It was a strange one again because you talk about players not wanting to celebrate, and that feeling of I kind of did celebrate, but I kind of didn't celebrate as much as I normally do. I enjoyed scoring, even though it was against Cheltenham. I enjoyed scoring against Scotty because I liked doing it in training. And I got on with Scotty really well. I did get on with him really well. So he knew me better than any goalkeeper anywhere, because he was the one who sometimes he wasn't in the team. It was Iggsy. So he would probably be the one who would be the one in goal for all the shooting drills, and so he knew me better than anyone. So it was nice to put one over on him and have a little laugh after the game. And like I say, the story after it was a bit more sinister. wasn't particularly a nice one, but some good come of it, because you get things like that stick with you. Like I said, Finners, he was tasked with that job, that horrible job, but he didn't do it, and he nearly did it to someone else. But but again, it was a funny old game.
It was. It was a weird game. It was a weird feeling, because I think that's the first time we saw you since you left and stuff, and it was a weird feeling. And obviously, like you said, Finn is being told to do what he did. No, he would never do that. So that was mad. But like, what was the feeling like? What would that be a feeling? Because obviously he didn't do it. But what was the feeling of that? Is that like you could either take that as a compliment, thinking, oh well, their manager knows I'm obviously a threat, but then it's also the flip of it, like, why would you do that?
Yeah, I wouldn't wish that on my worst enemy, to be honest. I watch games as a fan, so I think I see games differently now as well. Because as a player, it's a different world. It is a different world. Whereas you're a fan, I think now, and I watch Liverpool in big games, and do I want Messi to go off injured? Sometimes, but do I want him to have his leg broken? No. I don't. I really, really don't. Do I want him to get 2 silly yellow cards so my team wins the game? Maybe, yeah, maybe I do. If I'm openly honest, and do I want De Bruyne, maybe, at City, because I know how much a threat he is to my team that I'm supporting. But it's a compliment in saying that I am a threat to his team. But to want to do that it goes beyond football. And I done loads of stupid tackles, but it was never intent to. I wanted to hear people, but I didn't want them to stay down. I wanted them to give them a good smack in a tackle, and then them jump up and go, yeah. Because I did that. I got
Let
loads
them
of
know
tackles.
you're there. Yeah.
Yeah, I loved the tackle. I really did enjoy a tackle. And if I was taught, if someone smacked you, no, don't let them know that you've been hurt, because you're giving them an advantage. Which goes back to when I broke my leg at Millwall. It was at home, and I come on as a substitute, and centre half Richard Shaw. He was the one who smacked me and broke my leg. He had a fantastic career and played
at Coventry, didn't he?
Yeah, fantastic career. And again, he was one of them opponents. His legs were like that. He was solid, and if he hit you, you knew. So, and he did. He hit me, and I knew about it, and I went down, and I knew something was wrong. But I jumped up, and I tried to carry on stupidly, and then I wouldn't accept getting on a stretcher, because I knew you look weak, don't you? And it's stupidly, you should do it. And then I walk off, and then I convince Wes that it's not that bad, because we had a game Tuesday, because he's thinking it's a dead leg. Dead leg. Come on, you can't miss a game. You can't miss a game with a dead leg, can you? That means you're soft. So I was like, no, I'll be all right. Went home and iced it, and then couldn't sleep, and you get that broken bone feeling when it's throbbing, and you think, that's not right here. I'm in Bristol, living in Bristol, thinking I've done something. But I got given stretches, not stretches, crutches, but didn't use
crutches,
them.
Yeah.
Turn into training on Monday, thinking, yeah, give us a rub on it, Wes, and I'll get out. And he rubbed it, and I hit the roof. And might have been Goffey. Goffey was tasked with doing lots of the massaging, because he hands is like shovels. But I hit the roof and knew something was wrong, so I went for an X-ray, and I broke my leg. So yeah, again, the back to the point was that it's not on, and it's just not the type of thing you do. Ultimately, you don't always find out either. I had loads of things done to me in my career where I was playing for Cheltenham. I had an opponent bite me. A centre half bit me once, off the ball, bit me on my shoulder. I had teeth marks in my back, and I was thinking, that's different.
That's weird.
That was different. But so you have your weird compliments throughout the game that you're getting better and so on. But a first hard tackle, I don't mind. And I don't mind if he'd said, go on and give him a smack. Fine. I'd potentially say the same if I was in the same position. But not that. That was there's a line, isn't there? I think you crossed it.
Yeah, that's a line. There's a line you don't cross. Yeah, I think that's a line we can cross under that one, to be fair. But obviously, like you said, you had a good career at Colchester. What was it like? I've got it here: 98 appearances, 25 goals. That come to an end. 2012, you moved to Fleetwood again. Back in another team, another point to prove, another manager. That one, you was there for 2 years, and then you moved on again. Obviously, you come back to Cheltenham. What was it like coming back to Cheltenham for a fourth time? Was it a bit like America, like here we go again?
It was a strange one for the Fleetwood move. So I got bought. For, I think it was around 125 grand, and the club at the time, Colchester, they pulled the reins on the trying to get back to the Championship. No doubt that everyone was getting 50% cuts in the wages. I'd scored a few goals towards the end of my 3-year deal, and I got offered something like a 10% deduction in wage, but that went on to my appearance fee, so I didn't lose any money if I was playing. So it was like I got 2 years, and then I signed that, and then I done okay that the fourth season, so the first year into me new deal. So I had a year left on my Colchester deal when I went to Fleetwood. So Fleetwood made an offer of 100 and odd grand for me, 125, I think it was, and the club accepted it. John Ward accepted it because the club was in a different position then. So me personally, at that point, I'd had my first son. I'd had Lennon. He was born in Colchester, so he's got a story for when he's older. He's a little Essex boy. It doesn't sound like it.
No, but he doesn't.
It doesn't sound like it. But he was born there, and there was. I had some friends at Fleetwood. Half the team at the time were Scousers. They'd been promoted from the conference and throwing a lot of money at it. And I think I was right in my judgment that did go up the leagues. I wanted to be a part of it. I enjoyed promotion at Cheltenham. So it was a move where I'd always lived away. It was an opportunity family-wise to get a base back in the Northwest, and me kids to go to school in Liverpool and stuff like that, and see family and stuff. So that was a pull. The club itself, Fleetwood, was a massive pull. So it wasn't just the Northwest, because I was happy to live and move away. Everywhere I went felt like home. I loved living in Bristol. I loved living in Cheltenham. I had a great time there, and then I loved living in Essex. Again, I've got a very, very supportive family, and we enjoyed it. We enjoyed the journey. So it wasn't just the reason of moving to the Northwest why I done it. Fleetwood it was obvious that they were going to fly up the leagues, and again they were offering me good money to do it. Good money and an extension on my deal, which I probably wouldn't have got at Colchester because I've seen players leaving. We lost our captain to Southampton, I think, and he went on to play in the Premier League. Players had gone to Paul Lambert took players to Norwich. They went on to play in the Premier League. So again, I seen our better players leaving, and I was like a bit disappointed. From a playing point of view, that you're thinking, well, you're taking a backward step here. So Fleetwood, it was an opportunity to go and get promoted. It was a drop in league. I was going to League Two. I wasn't worried in that because I was confident that they were going to go up. And then so fee got accepted. I went and talked with the chairman and the chief exec and the manager, Mickey Mellon, who was a great fella. Still speak to him now every now and then. And yeah, it just didn't work out. Again, the manager had signed me to replace Vardy. Jamie Vardy was playing there, and he'd left to go on to Leicester that year, that 2012 year. And they were playing a formation where it was 4-3-3, and he was playing on the right of a three. And I got placed in that spot in pre-season. The manager quickly realised I didn't like it. I mean, my feelings known that I didn't want to play that role. I always liked to play as like a supportive striker. I like to wander. I didn't like the rigid responsibility of having to come back. I would when I when I had to, but I didn't want that to be my role, and I wasn't as quick as Vardy, definitely. But
not at that point anyway.
No, definitely not. But it was one of them that I felt like I was getting a bit older. I felt like I had the opportunity to say, look, I'm not sure that's my best position. So in a way, it didn't start great personally. The team was mixed up with players who'd come in on good money and players who were on conference money. So there was conflict between the group. Definitely conflict between the group. There was players on good money, really good money for League Two, good money for League One, and we were attracting players from the Championship. A player who'd been offered the Championship wage and come to League Two instead. And
that's insane.
Yeah, it was, and it was evident that they were eventually going to get success. We didn't get it that season, and the manager left. The manager had fallen out with the chairman, and the turnover of players from then till now will be astronomical, and a lot of money has been thrown out. I think they've steadied it a little bit, I think he's realised a little bit. I don't think it's any fault. He just wanted to go up the leagues. I think it's fine to do so. We've all played Football Manager, and we've all done it.
It's a lot harder than what you think.
Yeah, it is. I think they realised they got there. It took them a little bit longer than they potentially realised. So, new manager comes in, as all new managers do, and wants new strikers in, and probably realised the disparity in wage from the lads that they got into the conference lads, and maybe tried to bridge the gap, and maybe tried to free up. Well, I know he tried to free up my wage. so was messing me about quite quickly. And I'd just signed up, rooted my family, and I wasn't in a rush to leave. So I dug my heels in, and was eventually, told to train with the youth team and stuff. But so the reason I moved to Fleetwood, a good friend of mine was there, and he initially made the phone call and told me about the offer, who was playing at the time. Now he'd gone to Forest Green with another lad from Fleetwood. So a lot of the players had left Fleetwood in the summer, and I'd been contracted. So Forest Green were having a big go and chucking a load of money in it. And they'd gone there following the money.
Yeah.
And it was an opportunity to go up and play some games for a month. It was great, and I was told on the offset it was to replace Jamie Curtin for a month because he dislocated his shoulder, I believe. And yeah, it was never going to be any more than a month. Even no matter if I scored 10 goals, it was just to cover the injury. And I wasn't doing anything. I was nowhere near the team at Fleetwood for those reasons I said. So
Yeah.
I didn't see why not. It was strange again coming round. The funny feeling of knowing where the training ground was. There wasn't many faces. I remember the team had changed a lot.
It changed a lot. Yeah.
Yeah, it changed. There was only maybe Scotty Brown and Keith Lowe. Maybe I can't remember. Yeah, there was not many. Not many. But yeah, Yatesy had made me feel was just honest. He was honest and said, "Look, come and get some games. I realise you won't be up to speed, and come try and score some goals for me." And I did. And I think he managed to produce some good stuff. I know I followed them a lot closely then, and it was no surprise that he had success with the club because of the fella he was.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. He was a hell of a presence as a player. What a player he was. He, again, a bit like Finners, you know what I mean? When you talk about a bloke that just all in, fight for the team, put it all on the field, and that's what Yates was like, and that's why I think he transferred into such a good manager because he's passionate. His passion, his fight for the club, it was incredible. And yeah, so we had some good success under Yatesy.
I think his honesty was the one from a player's point of view. I think maybe from fans, it was I didn't see him play, so I couldn't tell you what type of player he was. I obviously got told. I got told, and I could tell when he joined in training. But I think his honesty for me, that's what really stood out. That he was texting and he was just telling me how it was. So it was such a difference from the manager I was with at Fleetwood. Graham Alexander. He was new into management, and again, I'm sure he's a lot better manager now than he was then. He tried to do things sneakily and didn't treat me very well, and I don't think he'd like to be treated the way he treated me. Which I don't think I didn't. If I'd done something majorly wrong, then maybe. But for the footballing reasons that I wasn't moving. It was disappointing. I found out I was on the transfer list on Sky Sports. So things like that.
Oh wow!
So you've got the ticker tape going at the bottom here. So we're in the change rooms ready to go out to training and stuff. We got, again, Fleetwood was fantastic. You had tellies everywhere, and it was a fantastic facility. And yeah, comes up on the bottom. Fleetwood Town striker is myself is on the transfer list, and I was like, oh, hang on a minute. He didn't even have the stones to come and tell me.
Yeah.
So that was an interesting one. But again, he was a great coach. He was a fantastic coach. Some of the sessions I was involved in were really top notch, and I've got no right to say that. I don't owe him anything. I've got only bad words to say about him in the sense of the way he treated me and what it affected on my career. But he was a good coach, and I'm sure he'll turn into being a good manager if he hasn't already. But at the time, he didn't treat a couple of us very well at all.
No, it's interesting that player as well, isn't he? Ex-player, so the transition from another transition from an ex-player to a manager. You know, maybe it's not. I don't know. Maybe that's the way he was. I can't speak for him. I don't know. I don't know him, but yeah, it's hard for you, isn't it? It's hard for you. How would that? You know, anybody feel the same? You see yourself come up transfer listed on Sky Sports News. That must just be like, wow.
Yeah, I don't mind getting transfer listed, but I'd have liked them to, like, similar to the Gary Johnson story. I'd have liked, you know, I just want to be told, you know, like, I didn't like what he was doing, but you know what, I can't really, because he come in and he was honest and he just went, look, you're not going to play for me, so go and play some games. So I was like, sound good.
Yeah.
Okay, I don't agree with you, and I think you're wrong in the long term, and I still think he's wrong because I got sold for a few quid not long later. But at least he told me. Whereas this fella tried to, he put me with the U team and all this stuff and tried to loan me out, and I was just like, no, I don't get it. Like, just you, I didn't put a gun to anyone's head saying, offer me this money. You offered me it. The club said, come and score some goals, and I wanted to. So, yeah, and then to find out that way, he just didn't have the, like I say, the stones to come and tell me, which, you know, he might have learned from it. But you'd like to think as a player, you know, coming from that, but it's different. It's a different thing, and you know, you've got you know, you put the different hat on, the manager's hat, and it's, you know, you see it in all walks of life, don't you? It's not just football. You get that hat on. You've got the manager's hat in any walk of life, and you get that power, and you see what it does to people. And I don't think it's any different. Some people respond good to it, and some don't. And he didn't at the time. And I'm a coach's manager now in the role I'm doing, and I always try and be honest, and I always try and treat people how I'd like to be treated, whether I'm telling them off or whether I'm giving them praise.
Yeah, definitely. It's football's a business as a player, but when you become a manager, I suppose it's even more a business then, isn't it? You got to do what you got to do to win, I guess.
Yeah, which there shouldn't be any apologies about that. And we are as the players, we're there to be traded, and we're there to be pawns and to be used. And as I was getting to the latter stage of my career, I knew quite early. You talked about the injuries. I knew I wouldn't play much past 30 because of the injuries that I had, and not that I had massively bad ones. I just knew I couldn't sustain it. I couldn't sustain
just a consistency.
I tried lots of things, and whether it was the makeup in me of I didn't try hard enough doing certain things, or wasn't well educated enough into keeping my body fit, I don't know. I'm not quite sure. I can't exactly put my finger on it, but I knew then that I wouldn't play. I wouldn't be able to play like. I'm only 35 now. You know, there's players. You know, knocking about still scoring goals in the league at my age, which I knew I wouldn't be doing. So I knew that it was. I look back at it now, obviously reflectively, that it wasn't good that I had a big chunk of my career taken away from me by someone saying, someone not treating me very well.
Yeah, which must be, you know, massively frustrating for you. I mean, yeah, I think we just have to leave that one there, won't we, before we get too far into that?
Yeah, don't get too deep, but yeah, you'll get me crying. But no, again, Cheltenham were the ones, and Yatey was the one to say, come and play some games, and I was excited to do so, even though it was only a month. So I actually give money up to go and play games. So
Yeah.
I took money out my own pocket to go and play, because Fleetwood wanted a certain amount of my wage paid, and it was less than a third of my wage, and Cheltenham couldn't afford it because, whatever reason, the budget, whatever reasons, and I wanted to do it. And on the ultimate last minute, I said, "Look, I'll forgo whatever that bit is,"
Yeah.
and I went and did it. And I wanted to play football, and at that point, I was fed up of it. And I was Cheltenham were great to me, and again, that feeling of coming back and being, there wasn't as many friendly faces, but there was a few, and it made me feel great again. That, to be wearing the kit and to score a couple of goals, which I did, which I was grateful to do. So I was glad I scored a couple, and had a positive effect on the team.
Yeah, it did. So with that fourth that's fourth spell, was only a month, like you said, but that made it to 92 appearances for the club, scoring 30 goals. Yeah, sits sixth on the all-time Football League goals with 29. That's incredible achievement. Is that like something is that, looking at it now, do you look at that and go, wow, I had a great Colchester, but I look at that and that makes me proud?
Definitely makes me proud. Yeah, you're saying that. I got my stat wrong, didn't I, before about being one of the transfer fees, but I think it's Colchester that I think it may be
It's
20
Colchester,
years.
yes, yeah.
But I look back at my spells, particularly Colchester and Cheltenham, that they were the spells that I managed to actually perform, and that's why I think that the fans there like me the most, because they got to see the better part of my career. And like I say, a lot of those games I come on as substitute. I didn't start every game at Cheltenham. I had to earn my way in the team because the players that you mentioned were there were very good players, and I had to earn my spot on the side and pushed me to being on my top of my game. Equally, a lot of the good players provided a lot of my goals as well. I do feel proud for you to say that I'm sixth on the all time, and I am proud that I think that we did finish the highest that the club's ever finished, and I do like those stats. I do. I hope the club do get back into League One, and the players at the moment feel that feeling of going to those big grounds, because, like I say, there is a difference in League One to two. There is. There's not a huge difference in player capability, but there's something different in the mindset of the players who will go and perform at those top grounds. So imagine going to Birmingham next season. You'll see who turns up. When there's a full house. At places like Birmingham, and I say I look back fondly on my Cheltenham career, and because we had that League One spell and I scored the goals in League One. You say that the players now have got a great chance to go and do it. I think that's got to be the carrot for them, hasn't it? Because I say that makes me feel proud. I didn't at the time. I didn't. I thought I had a stupid self-belief that I should be scoring goals, and I was confident, and I potentially cocky and arrogant, and in some ways, I'd like to think I was always polite to people, but in interviews process, but I did have an arrogance about me that I believed I was the best. So I believed I should have been scoring. I believed I should have been top scorer and getting a move, whether I was right or wrong to think that. I think you've got to have a bit of that in you.
You have to, don't you?
I think it helps. I think it doesn't help you in Civvy Street. It doesn't help you outside. But I think it helps you in the football world that you've got a belief in yourself. I think you've got to, particularly as a striker, that you've got to go and miss 5 chances and then go and believe you're going to score the 6th. Because if you don't take the shot, you don't score.
That's it, absolutely. So quickly, before we have to round off, I don't want to keep you too long. after the loan to Town, obviously you went to Bristol Rovers yet again. Another stint with our good old friend John Ward there. You made 13 appearances there. Went to Altrincham, 22, Warrington, and then Skelmersdale was your final stop before you, as you mentioned, you retired. So what's life been since you've called it a day, and what's the life of Steven Gillespie like these days?
I could do another hour on that. No, it was the opportunity to go to Rovers was too good to turn down. I'd spoke to John. He was manager there at the time, and I played at City, and I was aware of the rivalry, and I was aware of Bristol Rovers. I think one of my first goals for Cheltenham was against Rovers. Well, I know it was because there was a newspaper article knocking around that had said that I had said the wrong thing, like I say about players now, we won't give you anything away. Foolishly, I did at that time, and I said, I want to score. Of course, I want to score against Rovers. I'm a City pay my wages sort of thing. So that was the motivation. That was pinned up on that was their team talk and stuff like that. So and I did score, so that was quite good. But no, I went to Rovers and it didn't work out. I wasn't fit. Yeah, it was a shame. I signed a contract that if we stayed in the league and I passed the medical, that I'd stay there another season. Somehow I passed the medical. I don't know how. I think I had 2 pulled hamstrings. Both hamstrings had a tear in them, and the doctor passed me because he was a nice bloke.
Yeah.
And we got relegated on the last day, which was gutting. You know, the team, it was grown men were crying. It was horrific. Cost a lot of people their jobs, and yeah, I made a decision then, and the phone call wasn't going as much as it was in terms of offers. I did have a couple. I had Grimsby, who offered me decent money and stuff, and they were in the conference. So that was my biggest offer was Grimsby in the conference, and I made the decision if I was going to the conference, then I didn't want to go 3 hours away. I didn't want to live away. I had young family. I had my second boy had been born, Sebastian. So I made the decision. I don't want to live 3 hours away in the in the conference. So I moved to Altrincham and decided that I'm going to get into my coaching really. I started my badges, then got back into Liverpool, which was like 2014. So I was playing part time. We had a good team in Altrincham, but we were travelling to places like where's the furthest place I can think of? Dover. Travelled to Dover on the day. We travelled there on the day of a game, and we got beat. Funnily enough.
Yeah.
We travelled to Turkey on the day and got beat. Funnily enough, but it was different. It was training 2 nights a week, so I freed me up to coach all day. So I was on my feet and I was earning my trade and coaching. I was well aware that I needed to find my coach's voice. I needed to earn my stripes. So football managed to do that. It's I'll probably be annoying any Altrincham fans, but football wasn't my main priority. It was the start of the next journey into coaching. So I was playing at a relatively good level at the conference, but I hated every second of it. I hated every second of it, and it showed in my performances. I think I scored 1 goal. Managed to play Rovers and play decent sides in the conference, but you followed Cheltenham in the conference not long ago. I didn't enjoy it.
It's tough a league. We talk about how tough League 2 is in League 1, but that's just different kettle of fish.
Yeah, I didn't enjoy it. The players I were playing with were, football wasn't their main source of income, so they were playing for a couple £100, and they were lift engineers. They were lads in uni. They were good players. I'm not belittling the players. The players could have earned good money playing higher up. I always say there was a lad who took corners with both feet. I played with lads who and he was earning maybe £200-300. There was players earning 2,000-3,000 who couldn't kick it over head height. Honestly, I'm telling you, the ability wise, the gap isn't huge. I didn't enjoy it, but as I say, the sort of then went into had a year there, and then went into Warrington. Had a couple of years there. Again, just earning money whilst I was trying to win things again. It was an opportunity to. I dropped. I think they were the 8th tier of English football then, which I was maybe 31 doing stuff like that. So I was like, well, I want to win. I want to go to the team. I'd looked around and they were paying bigger money than they should have been for the league. And I thought, well, let's go and win leagues. Let's go and win. I like winning.
I like winning. It's great when you're winning. Don't like losing. No one likes losing.
It's good. So I was paid decent money to go and win a league there. So I did.
Yeah.
I got a horrible injury. Touched one round the goalkeeper and thinking, I'll get a little touch, buy a penalty, which I'm sure you've seen me do a couple of times. And he hit me about here. So I dislocated my shoulder and had a plate put in it, and that was it. I played a few games after that, but I was done.
That was
When
great.
I hung on as long as I could, getting a few quid, but got a full-time role at Liverpool. As my job title's changed a couple of times. I've gone from program manager to an
Editor.
associate coaches to I've changed. I'm doing the same role.
I think the last time I checked, you were something to do with the International Academy.
Yeah, well, that's what we do. So
Yeah.
the International Academy is we've got a lot of we've got academies all over the world. I think we're up to 22, which they replicate our academy in the UK, in Liverpool. So I write the program for them. I write the curriculum which they follow. We send the head coach over. The programs vary, so some of the it is about producing players. Majority are grassroots, so it's about enjoying football. It's giving the coaches an insight how to coach like a Liverpool coach. So it's a lot of coach education. It's giving the kids an experience of what Liverpool kids train like. May not be potentially at the same level, but it's an insight into the program. It's lots of role models. It's training like Salah, it's training like Mane, it's training like Van Dijk. Fortunate enough, the club's got some world beaters at the moment, so that's an easy sale. So it's given the kids a positive experience of Liverpool that don't live here. I'm massively passionate about that. I've got two young boys myself who live for football, and I'd like coaches my kids' coaches to make sure they have a good time. I want them to be safe, and I want them to have a good time.
Yeah.
And ultimately, that it's not easy. It's not easy for coaches to do that. But I say my role crosses over. You'll see me doing the Legends games, and you'll see me doing any sort of football activity because of my background. Because again, in an office environment, which I am mostly office based, home office at the time at the moment. But
Yeah. It's a good old home office. Not the one in London.
No, not the same. It's not the same. So, but again, I'm office based usually, and I've got an insight into the way football works. So, we talk about the business of football. Liverpool, the business of football is huge. That the money that they bring in through sponsors and partners is huge. So I have an insight into the way football works that the partners sometimes buy into as well. So I can help out in different areas in terms of the legend games, which are sometimes foundation run. So that all we raise millions of pounds for the club's foundation, where they have a full house at Anfield, and all that money goes to the club's foundation. So to raise millions of pounds for stuff like that is fantastic. But they come to me and ask, what do the players want for pre-match meal? Because why would people know? And they wouldn't know that. They wouldn't know what the routine of a player. They want to make it as fluid as possible for them. So, how many socks do we order? Well, how many players have you got coming first? So it's like it's stuff like that my insight into football does help out into other areas of the business. But my usual day job is looking after coaches all over the world, from America to Cyprus to Egypt to, again, all over. So I do really enjoy it. I enjoy the fact that I get to focus on the fun part of football. I do. The elite side of it is tough. And you've got to be hardened to it, particularly. And I was as a player, and I would be in the men's game. The kids stuff, it's tough. It is really tough for the young pros coming to try and make it through, because no one's got a secret formula. They haven't of getting what it does to get through to Liverpool's first team or any other club. You need to have all the moons aligned, and it's tough for them, for the kids. So to work with those kids that are on the edge of becoming professionals is difficult, and I do that a little bit when I go into the academy. I'm glad I'm not making the decisions on the retain and release. I did that a little bit at Wigan for a spell, and I didn't enjoy it. I really didn't enjoy it, because I'm very much in the players' camp rather than, like you say, the club's camp.
Yeah.
Even when it was Liverpool, I still can think like that kid. So So yeah, I get to focus on the fun side of football and give them a good experience, and hopefully creating fans all over the world for Liverpool, or keeping their thoughts and
Tomorrow's,
positively.
yeah. Tomorrow's footballers keep tomorrow's footballers going.
Yeah, I think the aim is to keep, in America they've got a range of sports, haven't they? They've got so many they can be pulled into playing basketball or baseball or lots of their sports over there. So if we can keep them into football, then that's the skill of the coach, is to keep that group together. I always say, if you can keep you think of your grassroots, you can keep a grassroots team from the age of 7 or 8 until 15, and then you discover girls and discover booze and everything else. Then the coach has done a good job. If kids are leaving at 11 and 12, then for me the coach isn't doing a good job.
There's a problem, isn't there? Yeah.
Yeah, it's not about winning all the time. It is about winning when you're professional, but once you're a kid,
It's got to be an element of fun.
Completely different. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I absolutely love that you're doing that. I think that's absolutely brilliant. I was actually going to ask you if any aspirations yourself to become like a manager or anything like that, but I think the work you're doing now is probably a lot more exciting and a lot less pressure, isn't it?
I had a lot of, say, the mental side of the pressure towards football. I'm enjoying. I've got pressures in the role I'm in now, but the pressures are for our kids to have a lot of fun, and we're doing a good job of that. So the focus on at the moment is I'm enjoying this where I'm at the moment. You never know what opportunities may come in the future, so I'd never say no, but I'm not rushing into it. Definitely not rushing into it.
That's fair enough. Gilly, I'm going to keep you much longer, I promise you. So final question, I've left it best till last. Specifically, obviously your Cheltenham career, Cheltenham Town podcast and all that. Looking back on your Cheltenham career, if you could describe it in one word, what would it be?
You could have given me a heads up for this one. This is where like you'll get people to do it and they'll come across all intelligent, won't they? And I'm going to say something daft. One word. One word, because it's difficult because I had those 4 spells, so I had a range of my career.
Let's look at the prime then. The prime years.
It was the start. It was the start of my career. It was beginning. It was the beginning. I really felt like I was a player. I got made. I was made to feel like a player. So beginning.
Brilliant. Gilly, thank you so much for your time. We're going to end it there. I really appreciate you coming on, and it's really good to speak to you.
I'll have to tell you the Robin story on the part 2, unfortunately.
Yeah.
No, thanks for having me on. And again, I appreciate you taking the time to speak to me.
No, any time, honestly. Like I said, growing up, you were one of the players that I really thought, wow, I told you when you first come to the club, I was like, wow, this guy is good. And all the way through it, you were brilliant. And then, obviously broke my heart, but I won't hold it to you too much. Nice guy. I'll let you off that one. But brilliant. Cheers, Gilly. Thank you very much.
No problem. Cheers, mate.
Guys, that's going to end it there. Obviously, thanks to Gilly for coming on, and all you guys that have watched and obviously listened to the pod. Wherever you watch or listen, make sure you subscribe. And big shout out to our sponsors, Luke Roper. Again, great work that you do for us and the club. And until next time, Gilly, cheers, mate.
Cheers, Tom.
Up the town.